Thermometers like this one are just fine, but athletic trainers are saying they may not be telling you the full story about how dangerously hot it is outside. America organization's recent decision to cut the swimsuit competition, many contestants and viewers are questioning the future of this organization. The Calhoun County Sheriff's Office has informed us that the threat was discovered between a thread of text messages among students here at Sandy Run School. The students will be referred to the solicitor's office for further prosecution. Even though the number of people using the bus service has doubled since 2012, taxpayers are now paying 7 times what they used to back then to keep these buses up and running. I'm standing here in front of the Richland County Sheriff's Department, where earlier today, Sheriff Leon Lott told us that the murder of 64-year-old Lawrence Goggenbaugh was drug-related. The death of 64-year-old Lawrence Goggenbaugh is a direct result of his kindness towards Stacy Rose, a friend Goggenbaugh was letting stay in his apartment. According to deputies, Rose had begun sneaking in her boyfriend, Eric Young, at night to stay with her.
At some point, we think that our victim found that out and there was a confrontation and he was murdered.
Deputies say that Goggenbaugh was reported missing by his employees the same night that Young and Rose were arrested on drug possession and trespassing charges at a local apartment complex. These two cases seem to be unrelated, but during an investigation into the couple's charges, deputies discovered their alleged relation to the murder of Goggenbaugh.
They had killed this man, kept his body for a while, used his credit card, lived in his apartment, and then they took him and hid his body.
After confessing to the strangulation of Goggenbaugh, Young took deputies to various locations until he finally showed them where he dumped the body, in the woods behind a house on Wilson Boulevard Tuesday night. Young has been charged with murder, destruction of human remains, and drug possession. Rose has been charged with accessory after the fact and trespassing. Live in Columbia, Greer, Seay, WIS News 10. This February has Felicia Finney, a senior from Columbia, South Carolina, thinking about what Black History Month truly means to her.
Black history allows myself, my family, my community, my classmates to come together and celebrate some of the most historic events within the Black community, game changers, leaders, and monumental moments that we remember and celebrate still today.
But this Black History Month, Finney is taking the time to remember her grandfather, former Chief Justice Ernest A. Finney Jr., his journey, and all of his many accomplishments.
When my grandfather first started his law practice, he was not admitted into the South Carolina bar. The South Carolina bar was not admitting African American lawyers at all, and neither were any of the major universities in South Carolina. So we kind of talked about how you have to kind of not really wait for others. You have to still continue to pursue your passion and pursue your dreams.
Finney's journey was far from easy, but he was able to teach his granddaughter the importance of overcoming obstacles to make a difference in the world we live in today.
He didn't let anything hold him back, really. No matter what challenge he faced, he worked where his feet were planted. So he wasn't always where he wanted to be, but he used that to work hard and to learn from it and to create other avenues for himself.
Planning to pursue a career in law, Finney thinks she may face many obstacles, but those obstacles do not compare to the continuous and unrelenting boundaries her grandfather had to push through.
For a woman entering into a male-dominated field, I obviously have a lot of challenges, but to say that I have the same ones he had would be not even on the same playing field. He and other monumental leaders in the African American community have paved a tremendous way for us.
As the first ever African American to be appointed to the South Carolina Supreme Court, Ernest A. Finney Jr. has been and will continue to be an inspiration. From Columbia, Greer, Seay, Clemson News Now. After kayakers discovered this coal tar at the bottom of the Congaree in 2010, almost 8 years later, this black sludge is still here, and it's all over the place. Thursday morning, Bill Stengler combed the bank of the Congaree River. He wasn't looking for a fishing spot, a place to kayak, or even some peace of mind. He was looking for black sludge.
Whew. Yeah, you get that smell from it, too.
In just seconds, success.
Weathered coal tar.
Coal tar left here by an SCENG coal plant almost a century ago. Pollution discovered almost a decade ago by state regulators and rediscovered yesterday by Tuber's Michael Owens and his girlfriend.
We noticed that we had this black sludge with the consistency of tar and also the smell of tar.
real gasoline smell all over our feet, our legs.
Stangler, who's the Congaree River keeper, says SCE&G promised to clean it up back in 2010, but still hasn't delivered. Now he's releasing documents that seem to show SCE&G misled the public. One letter shows that SCE&G was hoping to cap the tar with a fabric layer covered by rocks instead of scooping all the tar out, and said it can't scoop the stuff out because the Army Corps of Engineers said the project would be too risky. In another letter, the Army Corps called that a misstatement and inaccurate.
Those were misleading statements, and the Army Corps of Engineers, who's in charge of issuing permits for things like dams in the water, never made those statements, never told them they couldn't get a permit.
With that said, DHEC says it's time for SCE&G to come up with a new plan to scoop the stuff out. Stangler agrees. Owens does too, and so does James Smith, who represents this area.
SCE&G needs to quit with the excuses and get about, repairing the pollution that they are 100% responsible for.
Live in Columbia, Greer, Seay, WIS News 10.